being recorded too, just so you know.
We should have one of those disclaimers. This meeting is being recorded for training purposes.
Hopefully you guys are already trained.
All right then, duly noted.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Should get ones with wheels.
Well, I mean, those chairs are from 2010. They're really old. All those chairs. They were in the other building.
I got the one that's not been chewed on.
Oh.
Lyle's dog. Teddy. Lyle's
Yes.
dog.
Teddy, yes, Teddy, yes. Teddy left his mark.
Yes.
Always there.
I have a picture of Mark holding Teddy when he was a puppy.
Get out.
And no, I mean, he was still big, and then one when he was a bit older, Mark's trying to hold him, and he's just massive.
Yeah, lap dog in a gizmo.
Yes. Have you got Spencer?
Yep.
Okay,
We
perfect.
can hear you.
What's part of it? Is she?
I thought she was coming.
There, she is here.
Oh, is she?
Lyle.
Oh, okay.
Carrie wants to make sure she can hear us. Can you say hi, Mr. Mayor?
Hello there.
There you go.
Okay.
Where's my battery last?
Call meeting in order. Adoption of the agenda. Sorry, I need to acknowledge the Similkameen Valley on which we learn, work, and organize as the ancestral, traditional, and unceded territory of the Smalweeks people and is home to the Upper Similkameen Indian Band. Adoption of the June 11th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting.
So moved, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Moved by Councillor
Second that,
Ellery,
Mr. Deputy.
second by Councillor Willis. All those in favor? Carried. Adoption of the minutes, none. Petitions and delegations. Is that what this?
We have a regional district here. I'm not sure if that is up. Oh, there she is.
I just have to look this up.
So we've got a presentation from the regional district. So everyone can hear you.
So it's understood about that long part.
Yes.
Welcome.
Yeah, it's just, we're not permanent.
You have to be amazed with our AI capabilities.
So everyone can see the board?
They will in a second.
Oh, they will in a second, okay.
Seems like it is.
It's included in your
Oh,
package too.
okay. Well, thank you so much for having us here today. My name is Deborah Jones Middleton. I'm the Senior Manager of Protective Services for the Regional District of Okanagan-Similkameen. With me here today, I have Gilbert Chan, who is our Emergency Program Coordinator. I have Jillian Sees and Ken Kondawan, who are our Hazard, Risk, and Vulnerability Analysis Planners. And they're part of the project team that is leading this project. So we're very excited because this project incorporates all 6 municipalities and the 4 First Nations within the regional district jurisdictional boundaries, and we're working with each of the communities to ensure that everyone has a up-to-date hazard, risk, and vulnerability plan for their community. Whoops, I went the wrong way, I guess. Oh, there, sorry, I'll get it right yet. So this is, the background on this is that we are looking at the significant environmental hazards that may impact the regional area, the municipalities, and/or the First Nations. The impacts of climate change will be taken into account in this process, and we're looking at the population growth, which is significant for the this regional district and the municipalities within it. In fact, the southern Okanagan area is the fastest growing population growth in British Columbia today. We have significant legislation requirements for local authorities in British Columbia. The Emergency and Disaster Management Act has outlined that this is a requirement under the Act. And we take into account the United Nations Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, as well as the United Nations Declaration on Rights of Indigenous People. So we are looking at, of course, the hazards, which are a source of potential harm or situations with potential for causing harm to the people that live, work, or play in this area. And we also look at the risk of that happening and the likelihood that the hazard will occur and the potential impact that will have on our populations. We also look at the vulnerability of the people, the infrastructure, the property, industry, resources, and environments that are particularly exposed to adverse impacts. You know, many of us know, we think of emergency management and we think of the risks that we have, and there's wildfire, there's flooding, and there's landslides. They're certainly prominent, and they're definitely a high risk in this regional area. But there are many other hazards that also exist that we will be looking at. And the province requires us to look at 57 different hazards, among them the food source interruption, drought, transportation routes, cybersecurity threats, human disease, but there are many others. And there are many other things that maybe locally we're more concerned about that may not be listed, and we would definitely be listening to the people in the population to look at what those are and what potential recommendations we might be making to support those concerns. So the project will be identifying the hazards, evaluating the risks, assess the vulnerabilities of the community and infrastructure, identify the gaps as well as the existing resources to inform future recommendations. And this project really does contribute to regional collaboration and relationship building. We're looking to improve community and regional resilience. There are three sort of teams that are working on this. We have the project team, which I introduced earlier, is myself, Gilbert, Jillian, and Con. And our responsibility is planning and facilitating support and report preparation. We have an advisory group that is made up of the emergency program coordinators and planners from the municipalities and First Nations, as well as the regional district. And they are guiding, making sure we haven't missed anything that we should be looking at, making sure we're looking in deep enough to all the different areas, and just giving us that overall strategic look. And then we will be working with sub-regional committees, and those are going to be community members and subject matter experts. So BC Wildfire Service representatives, Ministry of Environment people, Ministry of Transportation, those kinds of subject matter experts that will give us detailed information that they know about the regional district and the municipalities, etc. But also we are looking to build this out with some 2 or 3 community members from each community that have that knowledge of the area. They have significant contributions that they can make to this process. Bringing up things of history that will also contribute to our ability to assess the risks and vulnerabilities. So that gives that local look at the process as well. We did look at the regional district geographically and broke it into 3 sectors for the town of Princeton, village of Karameas electoral area, G, B, and H. We have put you into what we call the Similkameen Valley because there's very similar landscapes and risks in this area that we know of already. So we are working with those communities, also lower Similkameen Indian Band and upper Similkameen Indian Band are part of that as well. So we're just bringing people together from those areas to contribute to the process. That will be that sub-regional committee. The project was broken into 5 phases. Our first phase was ended in the end of March, and that was where we developed the project charter and started to develop the engagement plans. We're now well into data collection and hazard identification process, and we're going to be finalizing the sub-regional committees. They will start meeting in the fall of this year, and there will be about 5 or 6 meetings for them to attend. And it could be virtually or in person, those options will be available to them. The next phase will be from January to April, where we will be doing risk assessment and prioritization, and that will be utilizing the subcommittees as well as what we've been doing with the public. So we have been doing a fair amount of public engagement. We go out to different social events that are happening in the public, and we actually have these boards where we get people to give us some thoughts. What do they think are the risks? What do they think are the vulnerabilities, right? Are they prepared is another question that we ask them, because we're trying to stimulate that public engagement, the all of society approach to emergency management. And then phase 4 will be the project review, reporting, and implementation planning. We will develop recommendations based on what we've learned. Some of them will be to come to you for advocacy. Others will be potential project development that you can put on the shelf that's ready to go as soon as funding becomes available, those kinds of things. And we can advocate for that funding as a group, right? And then in September to December, we will be taking those final documents and sharing them out with the public, sharing them out with councils, sharing them out with other people, and making sure that, and with the province. So that will be the final phase. And that's our presentation for today. We do have in your package contacts for Jillian and Con, because they are leading the subcommittee development. If you do know someone who would be valuable to sit on this subcommittee in your community, we would be very happy to at least reach out to them and ask them if they would be interested. So thank you so much. If you have any questions.
First, I'd like to apologize for my, thank you. I'd just like to apologize for my delay in coming, meeting introduction. So, but thank you. I did read through the report, and I see that there's a long road ahead still before it's finalized. So I appreciate that there's going to be a lot of work, and it's good to hear that our local emergency program coordinator is part of it too. So you're getting a lot of information for our community too.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
No question. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming.
Okay. Thank you
I
so
had
much.
a
Okay.
couple of things I was wondering about. You mentioned population growth, something about fastest growing.
In the southern Okanagan Valley has some of the fastest growing population in the province today.
Okay.
Yeah.
My other one was some time ago, I'm not sure how many years ago, there was a great talk in forestry, fire prevention, in terms of rapid attack. I'm so disappointed, and maybe there is no way around it, I have no idea, but the idea of that rapid attack was such a good thing. I've heard so many times where you have a little tiny fire that's easily dealt with, and they don't get to it until it's not manageable. And I from my perspective, from a group, an organization like what you're talking about, it seems to me we need to be all over them. in terms of, you're talking about danger about our community. With the weather, the way it is, how dry it is, and lack of water and all that kind of stuff. To me, that's one of the top, you know, besides flooding for our town, but besides that, you know, fire. I mean, there's some ones that maybe you can't help, but I think that we need to put in front of them the fact of the quicker you get at it, the less problems you're gonna have. And is there anything that they can do about it, sort of thing?
So, and these are the kinds of recommendations that will be formulated in the report, and hopefully support advocacy, not just from the town of Princeton, but from all the municipalities and First Nations within the regional district and the regional district board. We can't advocate enough for better preparedness on the part of the first responders, being BC Wildfire Service when it comes to wildfire. I know that they have been, I can't speak totally for them, but I know from different conversations that I've had with them that they're definitely increasing their resources and trying to be more prepared to meet the needs. And then we have a fire season that's already started across the northern part of this Western Canada that has drawn resources away, and that's a concern to me as as someone who is concerned about our population, right? And how are we going to protect them? They have told me that they still have their bulk of their resources here, but they still have been sending people out. And in fairness, there's a huge problem already happening in our province here and across Western Canada. A lot of people are being evacuated from their homes and at serious risk of impact and loss. It's pretty devastating what's happening already, and we're only in June, so it's a big concern for sure. And I absolutely agree with you. We can't man that up enough to make sure we have the resources available to get at it really fast. There was a wildfire out in the Willowbrook area just last week, and I can tell you that BC Wildfire Service and the Willowbrook Fire Department worked hand in hand and got a hold of that fire very quickly. So there is attempts in this early stages. The problem is as we get further along and resources are drained more and more to the fires that are happening, the risk gets higher and higher, and the less opportunity for them to actually impact the fires.
I guess if you just put it not only in the perspective of danger to humans, but the loss of revenue in terms of, can you not offset, find some money somewhere to offset the amount of money that we lose every year through potential revenue from resources,
Yeah.
Forest resources.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. I don't know if this is the beginning of this process, but if it is, why wouldn't it have been started quite some time ago? It's such a good idea.
Yeah, we were able and successful in getting funding to support the project. So many municipalities and First Nations contributed to the funding pot through the disaster risk reduction funding that was available from the province. And when we got that, then we started in January of this year. And in fairness, I started in May of last year, so I'm new to the region. And so we're just trying to get all these things put in place for sure. And because I think it's a requirement under the new act to have this in place, I think it's a good thing, right? It's forcing us to take this step back and really look at what the risks are and the potential impacts to our region, and what we need to do potentially to up our own resources to support residents who are impacted. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you so much for your time today.
One sec, I have a question.
Okay.
Oh, I couldn't hear you.
Jessica,
It's really
considering how many of you just brought up about our resources and whatnot, considering how many resources are being asked to go north and east right now, at the regional level, are we creating like a regional duty roster, regional teams, so that we can maintain a certain level of readiness within the valley? I know we have people from Princeton that have gone out. I know Sharon is Penticton, I believe Cleveland, and I believe might be some people from Marinata going as well. Are we collaborating on how many resources are in the region as this fire season progresses?
That's definitely on my agenda. It hasn't been a way of doing things in the past, but I would like to see that. We're going to actually have a meeting today with the emergency program coordinators and definitely be bringing that up because it's a concern with what's happening in the north. That's not going away, so it's definitely a concern.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
You bet.
Again,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having us.
Alrighty, unfinished business, none. Staff reports. 6.1 status report, Bridge Street Plaza. Council receives an update on the Bridge Street Plaza, including progress in year-to-date financials for information only.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So this is an update on the status of the plaza. In the report, you see there's a brief history in 21. Following COVID, we applied for the Canada Revitalization Grant. We were successful in receiving that, $750,000 towards initially for the municipal campground, washroom improvements, the visitor center and boardwalk, and sidewalk improvements in the downtown area. And then, as we all know, the flood happened, and we were looking to add to our area down there as an improvement after the flood. So we reached out to the feds to see if we could redirect some of that funding to complement what the town had put in for doing the shade sales and the wishbone furniture that was installed down there that you see now. So we were able to redirect some of that grant funding into that project. As you know, we ran into delays, the main one being we had an 18-month delay to sort out a fire issue with location of the band shell next to the buildings that dragged out for 18 months. With some, we had an architects involved. We were given information that initially it would have to be 80 feet from the building, and then we were told we have to put up a 30-foot retaining wall until we finally came to a more realistic approach, and you see where it's at today. We ran into the issues of the underground foundations that we weren't aware of. So when we started to do the boardwalk replacement in that section, we hit that underground foundation, and then the wall crumbled, so we had to do a redesign on the landscaping feature there. Same thing happened when we dug for the foundation of the band shell itself. We dug that foundation, hit another foundation, so we had to do some geotech work in there. All this adding to our delay and some cost overages. You'll see the breakdown of where the financials there amounts to $443,000 for the project. That includes everything right down to the last, basically, screw from our town department, whatever was put in there. You'll see that in the itemized. We did get a generous donation from the Salvation Army and Red Cross, which allowed us to enhance the band shell. The total between those two was $106,000, so it converted the band shell from being a platform to what you see down there today. And I think that pretty much sums it up.
Thank you. Questions?
So is it all pretty much done?
We're just waiting for the irrigation to go in and the electricity.
How long
which
is
is-
electricity gonna be?
Sorry?
How long for the electricity?
I believe Josh is working on it this
Oh,
coming
it's
up
not,
shortly.
oh, it's just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, just running it from the annex building. We're able to pull from there. Good.
Does Councilor Elliott have any questions?
No, no, I don't.
good understanding of the, like your breakdown of the financials. So it says it's a detailed financial, and it's really just like a GL report, right? So it doesn't tell us who the payees are and stuff, so.
This is what I got from our finance department, so.
As your report to council? Okay. So just, maybe I can direct this to Lyle then, or you can answer it. So like you have the reports attached for the furniture, the shade sales, and the band shell. Like those, you have your cover letter of the report, not the actual quotes or anything. But then you have retaining wall landscape blocks, and that totals $25,664. Was there a requirement for that to come for council? And I think Lyle can answer that.
Yeah, that is the accumulation of a number of smaller purchases, and the work that was put into the retaining wall was done by town staff, so that was a separate item. And like I said, the 25,000, that's an accumulative of multiple purchases of blocks that the staff needed. And as Gary pointed out, we actually had to do a little bit of redesign on the blocks. We had to order a few more blocks to account for going around a bit of a foundation and stuff like that.
So then basically each time, like the original design was under the 20,000, and then because of the recreation of the redesign because of the fail, that was another 20,
Right.
or whatever. It was
That's
under
right.
the amount.
That's right. And
But
as-
accumulative.
Yeah, and as Gary pointed out, all the purchases that were coded to this project are in the GL account.
On the
so,
listing,
yeah.
which does total that, I get that. And then like the labor, electrical, geotech, architect, lot consolidation, miscellaneous, that total there also included a report which wasn't reattached from September, where we had that additional cost on the overages for the band shells, which from my understanding of the explanation to me was the geotech, the architect.
Yeah. Yeah, and
So
the
that's why it's in that category.
Sitka Log Homes, they were the general contractor, and so they subbed out all this other work, which ballooned the project up a little bit, which we brought to council, so.
Right, and we do have that report,
Yeah.
and we did approve that, so that's where I was just wanting to make sure that the clarification on there. And then the last thing that I would ask is, this is just an information report, but would it be possible to get this report done as like an actual financial report where you see the dates, the invoices, like the invoice numbers, who the payee was? Because I was just trying to do my OCD thing where I was just trying to match up and make sure the maths and match up furniture, shade sales, band shell. And within this report, most of it was there, like I was able to find the band shell items and stuff like that, but there's no reference of shade sales or furniture. But I believe there's in the description on here, it says like 50% deposit on it, but it doesn't say for furniture or shade sales. But when I asked the finance department for further clarification on a couple of the specific items, she was able to quickly do that information, so.
Yeah, those reports are readily available, we can get that to you.
Yeah, I would just think, like, this may not, again, it comes down to what questions we ask too, right? This may not have been known that's what the purpose of it was for, and have it summarized to match up with, like, the director's summary of expenses, right?
Just so I'm clear, so you're wanting staff to do another report on this? Like, I'm not clear as to what the report would be.
Well, this report, this GL expenses, the only real information from it is the amounts and the line description, but it doesn't say like the date that it was paid, the date of the invoice or anything like that. Like doesn't.
Is that, James, that's something that you would?
Yeah, I know we readily have that, so.
Yeah.
Which I did.
You might, maybe there's a report missing on that wasn't.
And again, it could just be context, like it could have been just like, I just need to know all the checks that were paid, and this provides that, for sure. This provides your total cost for the project based on that GL. It just doesn't go into enough detail for somebody to be able to do the matching,
Yeah,
which.
I think what I'm hearing you say is that it's maybe too much detail, because every single invoice that was attributed to this project is in this report.
Yeah,
But-
down to every
but-
screw and nut
Yeah,
and bolt.
exactly, even the labor costs and shipping costs and everything, but you're wanting us to group it together so you see, and I'm just trying to understand so we do the right report here. You just want to know about the band shell and the shade sales and the furniture.
Or if it was, like, you know how you have an expense, like you have your original budget that we decided on, and then what your actual costs were. Like even if it was summarized that way as a report.
Sure. Maybe James can put something together.
Isn't this the actual cost right here?
Yes.
Yeah, that's like, it just
Again, I
says,
don't understand what you're asking for.
right. It says it's a detailed financials, and that's not how I would normally receive a financial report, so that I can analyze.
Yeah. You can maybe work with James and you can.
After.
Spencer has his hand up.
Oh, sorry, Spencer. Sorry, Mayor Coyne, I mean.
That's my
It's all good. So, I think what we need to do moving forward on big projects like this is we need to have a project manager. Just because there's a lot of moving parts, and as we've watched over the last couple of years, we run into things that we weren't expecting, and when you have 100 things on your plate, you're not always able to juggle everything. We've seen with the big projects, with the fire hall, for instance, or the public works building, when we give out these contracts and they have a project manager, they go a lot smoother, and they just seem to, it happened. So I think something for staff to take back in the future when we do these big civil works projects or these big projects like this. Part of the deal is there has to be a project manager that's overseeing the project. Director, they can answer to the director, but it has one point of contact and everything gets done. I know Sitka was the general contractor on the band shell, but that wasn't the only part of this project. And as we've seen this thing go forward over the last, almost 3 years, there's always something else to deal with, and it doesn't always get done in a timely manner. So that's going to be my suggestion is as we move forward, we should probably look into having a project manager on these projects, whether it's part of the RFP or whatever. It's just part of the whole process from here on out.
So then my question would be, I'm missing out on what is being requested here.
So
The way it's coming across to me is that we have it broken down to this being built or that being built, and now we want it broke down to there's going to be a table being built, how many screws were, what the cost of the screws, and the, I'm exaggerating, but that sort of thing. Do I really want that? And do I not have the opportunity to be able to, if I want that intense information, that I can go and find it?
I think you're confusing Councilor Gould's part with my part. Councilor Gould is asking for a financial thing. I'm asking as we move forward, we have one project lead for the entire project, and that project lead is responsible for every part of it, so that these things where things are not being done in a real-time manner, or as problems arise, they just deal with it.
Okay.
May I speak to that further to you? So I think because I don't have the best way of communicating what I want to say, a lot of times takes a long time to tell a short story. I get that. I ask a lot of questions. But also too, like sometimes there's delaying after I ask my question to get the information, and then there's a shorter time frame for me to get the clarification. So like sometimes it's like crunching just to get that, let's say the reassurance is that I, as a person that has been elected to be on a seat to do a job to the best of my ability, to be able to do my job that I'm comfortable with so that I can honestly, wholeheartedly say, which I do. I agree with this project. I think it's been a great project. I think it's beautiful. It's nice to see that it's very close to the end of completion. It's just what I'm saying is that maybe we could do better in providing the information that we as council should all be able to read and understand in a clear way. So it's easy to say, oh yeah, the maths, this matches this. That's my request. And then the I'll call it my nervousness of I'm missing something is easily set aside when it's clear that here's the financial report on this, that then summarizes those. Our budget was this, we're within our budget. So if our budget was 456 based on the finances, the town's portion of the community grant reallocation, the Canada Community Revitalization grant reallocation, and the donations, it's 456. And we came in at 443,218.90, which is the GO report which Gary's provided. And he says there's like a small amount needed to complete the electrical. So if that's it, I like to be able to check. So that's all I'm asking is that it be a little bit more detailed. I don't want to know every screw and hammer and nail and everything we had to purchase, but summarize by categories so that I can say, yep, the math. And then the final thing I would have to ask, which I believe Councillor Willis did ask, and again, long story to get to a short question, is the project complete? He asked that, yes, electrical and some irrigation. Is the funding available to finish that to the end? Still within that?
I believe so, we have
That 12,000 should cover all
Should,
that?
yeah.
Okay. And to the best of your knowledge, you mentioned that there was a subcontractor, I think it was Bob that mentioned it, that did the actual construction of the contract. That's been fulfilled as well. And that you don't, everybody's been paid, it's all done.
Yes.
We paid sick because sick is paying them.
Yeah.
Okay, those are the main things I need to. So, and it is a very complicated project. I get it. There was a lot of things that came up that delayed it. I understand that. It's just when we can then have these reports summarized that here's when we came back and we added the shade sales cost and here's where the furniture is and here's that. And then here's, the only thing that's missing in the attachments, like I said, was where in October we had to approve an overage, which is, like you explained, the geotechnical and architect and stuff like that. Because my understanding was the contract with Sitka included architectural and electrical and all of that. So I was a little confused as why the contract would say that, but we have the overages. So that's mine. And that's it, I guess.
So I guess my question then would be the level that the finance department has gone to in order to provide information for us is not adequate and we need to go further into detail. Is that what I'm getting?
Perhaps I can speak to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, just a little point of context for council. So, this level of detail on a project basis can be made. It's, we're working toward it. We're not quite there yet. We do have that level of information, but we can always improve on our system. So we'll take that back and generally try and improve on it, especially to the point that we can sort of provide regular project updates in that manner. When I first started here back in 2018, we did a capital project or two. Right now, I think we have active more than a dozen, and we have potentially 94 on the capital list. So the scope of what we've done from where we started in 2018 to where we are now is much, much larger than the scope that we had 6-7 years ago. And that's a credit to council that you guys have a broad vision and it's being it's being fulfilled, and we're, you know, as staff, we are supporting your guys' vision of making sure we improve the town through the functionality capital projects. You know, the idea of a project manager has been floated around a couple times, and I think that would really help toward. He's going to need specific financial information and project information, and that can be at his fingertips, and we can work together in that context to improve that style of recording. You know, we trying to maintain the level of reporting we have to do and maintain an affordable level of staffing is always a challenge, but we're welcome to that, and we'll take this to heart, and we'll make sure that we're able to fulfill council's mandate in this area.
And just one more point here too, I'm not actually asking for this detail. That's a lot of detail. I'm actually asking for the summarize of it, and that the summary matches, because I was able to get it when I asked again, but it's also been a while since I started asking. So had I been able to have that contact or those, I believe, and it always is, when I have the conversations directly, I get the information. It's just, I think it could be alleviated when I ask for it. It's not delayed in getting to me. Please.
All right. I don't see anything else, so moving on to conclusion. Motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Moved by
So second.
Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor Willis. All those in favor? Motion carried. See you, Mr. Mayor.
You guys later.
Still can't